All right, how's everybody doing? Today we're going to talk about Ben Azoulay, Instagram's favorite imaginary alpha male. He's that kid in high school who fails the ROTC physical but still insists on wearing the camo and saying I could kill you with one finger. You know, the type that claims he's ex-special forces, assassin, bullshit. In reality, this guy's a convicted rapist. Now, I don't care if this video gets demonetized because I'm not going to sugarcoat what this guy is, a delusional rapist. Now, I know John Bravo has already gone in depth about the sexual assault conviction both Ben and his dipshit brother were convicted of at the age of 18, so I won't go into that. What I'm going to talk about is the 5-year domestic violence restraining order he had ordered against him at the age of 17. Now, I requested the court documents and redacted the victim's name, but we're going to go through these documents and see what a deranged psychopath this shit stain has been since his early days. So let's get into it. All right, so at just 17 years old, Ben was already stacking up restraining orders like they were infinity stones. Let's start with page 1 here of this restraining order application. This is the standard form here in California for domestic violence protective orders. And here, what do we see here? Ben Azoulay, named front and center as the person that she wants protection from. We see his age, his birthday, his height seems generous. But here's the kicker. On section 3 of this application for protection, it asks, besides you, who needs protection? Now, she adds, again, I've redacted their names, but her mother, her father, and her 4-year-old sister. Imagine being such a red flag at age 17 and a menace that your ex's entire family, including a toddler, has to be legally shielded from you. She literally asked the court to protect her entire household from teenage Ben because that's how safe he made them feel. Now, moving on to page 2 here, this is where we get into some of the specific allegations, where we see where it states personal conduct orders. What's that mean? Basically, she's asking the court to make him stop harassing, attacking, striking, threatening, assaulting, destroying her property, and generally just being an absolute psychopath. She then checks the no contact box, which means no calls, no texts, no showing up like the little creep he is. And additionally, under where we see the stay away orders, she asks to make sure that he's at least 100 yards away from herself, her parents, her little sister, her home, her car, and even the kid's school or childcare. She wanted the judge to make absolutely sure Ben couldn't be so much as a football field away from her house or her car. Because again, totally normal boyfriend behavior, right? And notice, it's so bad that she's saying, keep him away from my 4-year-old sister. So this wasn't just about protecting her safety, it was about protecting a child. Now, as we move on to page 3, it gets much darker. Section 22 asks, describe the most recent abuse. She writes, on August 15th, 2007, Ben and myself, he struck me repeatedly in the face, head, and legs, pulled my hair, verbally intimidated, chased me in his vehicle, and struck my vehicle repeatedly, tried to open the door, and followed me to the Lost Hills police station where he was arrested and detained. Now, let's pause here. This isn't, we had a fight. This is beating her repeatedly, pulling her hair, chasing her in a car and ramming it, trying to force her passenger door open. At this point, she literally had to flee to a police station where this psychopath and genius followed her and obviously was arrested immediately at the station. And again, when we move on to check box D, where it says, describe any use or threatened use of guns or weapons, she writes, guns and a baseball bat present in his vehicle. Because nothing says great boyfriend like rolling around with firearms and a bat while you chase your ex like a scene from Mad Max. By the way, did I mention he's a rapist? Moving on, page 4 is the specific domestic violence attachment, And this is where the court asks for details. So I think it's important. Let's read through this together. She says, he threatened to kill himself, verbal abuse, slapped me twice in my face, grabbed me by the neck and hands, threatened to hurt me even more. He was extremely angry and enraged and proceeded to hit things around the room. So here we see Mr. Ben Azoulay, alpha male and professional toddler and tantrum thrower. He's threatening self-harm as manipulation, slapping her, grabbing her neck, threatening further violence, then raging so hard he's smashing up the room like a dollar store Hulk. That's not just anger issues. That's serious domestic violence behavior. And just as a reminder, he's 17 years old at this point. Now, as we move on to the next section, again, it's important to note she states all this under penalty of perjury and other recent abuse. She writes, Ben and myself, again, meaning it was an incident involving just Ben and herself, where he pulled my hair and struck me once in the head. Notice the pattern? This is separate from the other car chase incidents we're talking about. This is a different day, weeks before. She then checks the box for abuse against you or your children and writes, there's been approximately 10 consecutive incidents of physical abuse. This was a chronic problem. Also repeatedly threatened to kill, and I marked out his name, but an individual that was her ex-boyfriend. So again, let's pause here for a moment. She's telling the court this wasn't, again, just one fight. This was a chronic problem with at least 10 separate beatings. He threatened to even kill her ex, because really nothing says stable relationship like threatening to murder people who existed before you showed up. It's like the greatest hits list of every reason you should get a restraining order. And finally, the day comes, the ruling from the court itself. Now, this was dated September 17th of 2007. The court notes, petitioner, being the victim, is sworn and testifies. The court makes its orders as recited in open court. The court orders a permanent restraining order for a period of 5 years. Restraining orders to expire at midnight on September 16th, 2012. A 5-year order, that's the maximum length under California DV law at the time. So the judge was so worried that they felt that the maximum allowable restriction here was in order. Judges don't just hand these out like candy. You generally get them when a judge is convinced you're genuinely dangerous. The court literally decided that for half a decade, Ben needed to stay at least 100 yards away from this girl and her entire family, again, including a 4-year-old. And you know what? This dipshit didn't even bother showing up. The record says, counsel for respondent, no appearance. Didn't even show his face in court. Real alpha move. So let's summarize what this package of restraining order documents actually shows. It shows us that a teenage 17-year-old Ben was so violently abusive that his ex and her family went to court to get protection. They asked for protection for her parents and even her little 4-year-old sister. The judge then heard sworn testimony and gave the maximum 5-year order. He was so classy, he didn't even show up to defend himself. So next time you see this dipshit talking online about being an alpha, high-value, assassin millionaire, or whatever nonsense cosplay he's spewing that day, just remember, a California court called him a violent threat who needed to stay the hell away from an entire family for 5 years. And that's the real record. Don't buy the grift. So next time this clown's videos pop up on your feed, remember who you're really looking at. Not an assassin, not an alpha male warrior, not even a disciplined adult. Just a convicted rapist desperately hoping you won't Google him. Unfortunately for him, I'm a lawyer who actually reads court documents. And Ben, your record makes you the ultimate cautionary tale. And Ben, this goes out specifically to you if you happen to be watching. This is just the first of many court documents to come out. I've requested all your court documents and they're coming in on a rolling basis. So stay tuned. All right, guys, thanks for watching. Subscribe for more breakdowns of people who deserve every second of the scrutiny they get. And remember, if you take masculinity lessons from Ben Azoulay, you might just deserve to lose your money. So quick, if you like this content and want to support what we do here, exposing these frauds and scammers and criminals who'd rather you didn't know their history, consider being a member. You'll get early access video and extra content, plus the satisfaction of taking some of these clowns down with me. By the way, guys, did I mention he's a rapist?